to this week's edition of This Week in Agriculture, a presentation of the Communications Unit, Ministry of Agriculture. I'm your producer and host, Christopher Holder. On this week's presentation, we bring you highlights of Minister Mustafa's outreach over the past Saturday. He visited the communities of Sandfort, as in West Kanji. He visited Maibikuri Blackbush Polder and number 63 on the Karantine. Again, these are all part of countrywide outreaches by cabinet ministers explaining to stakeholders all that is contained in the national budget of 2024. Of course, the Agriculture Minister will be focusing mainly on, mostly on agriculture and its trajectory for the year ahead and how members of the various farming communities will benefit from what's in the budget. Building on what has happened over the past 3 years in terms of the support that farmers and communities across the country have been getting from the Ministry of Agriculture. So that's the focus of this week's edition of This Week in Agriculture. Of course, today is also Burby Smash. The town of New Amsterdam is packed. We welcome all the visitors to New Amsterdam. Certainly hope that you enjoy your stay. Be safe. Have a safe trip back to the city or from whence you came. We will be back after these messages.
The Ministry of Agriculture advises that persons desirous of importing animal products, such as meats, must first acquire a permit and/or no objection to do so from the Guyana Livestock Development Authority (GLDA). Prospective importers must fill out an application for import license form. This must be handed in to GLDA along with a quotation from the supplier of the products to be imported, as well as a certificate of origin of the commodity. Meat and meat products must be from approved countries, and in cases where this is not so, then that country must apply directly to the GLDA for a permission to export to Guyana. In this case, a risk assessment is then conducted by the GLDA in association with the Veterinary Public Health Unit of the Ministry of Health. At the time of the application to GLDA, the importer must also indicate his or her interest in this regard to the Veterinary Public Health Unit, which plays a critical role in determining whether the license to import will be granted or not. If the import is allowed, the importer is notified by the GLDA. A fee is payable before the permit is prepared and issued to the importer. It should be noted that meat or meat products imported without an import license will be seized and destroyed. For more information on this and other issues, contact the GLDA head office on 220-6556 or email glda1910@gmail.com. Visit our Facebook page and leave a comment.
Over the last 10 years, seed treatment has been proven to be very effective in protecting rice plants from damage by early season pests, such as water weevils, leaf miners, and caterpillars. This protection can last for up to 30 days. In so doing, it allows for better establishment of the rice plants and later no bare spots in the field. Seed treatment also negates the need for using harmful pesticides during the first 30 days of the crop and therefore allows the buildup of beneficial insects such as the ladybird beetle, damselflies, dragonflies, and spiders, which will later prove useful against paddy bugs at every stage of their life cycle. Seed treatment involves the application of pipernyl at 20% soluble concentrate in a spray can to germinated seed. The mix is 1 liter of pipernyl to 2.5 gallons of water to treat 10 120-pound bags of paddy. This can be done manually as seen here. The seed is spread on a level surface and the chemical applied using a spray can. It is then turned and sprayed a few times until the farmer is satisfied that he has achieved complete wetting of his seed paddy. Treated seed paddy is then covered and allowed to be incubated or pressed for the normal 36 to 48 hours. Then it is ready for sowing. It should be noted that in treating the seed, farmers applying the pesticide should wear the appropriate protective gear as seen here to protect against the harmful effects of the chemical on the skin or if inhaled.
From 2010, since I started my seed treatment, that's when I started and I've continued. I've never stopped because I've seen the benefit of seed treatment. And I've seen increased yield, I've seen production better because it actually gives you 35 to 40 days that you don't have to go back into the field and do any kind of a pesticide control because that actually helps you. So farmers, I'm advising you and I'm giving you that advice because I've been doing this since 2010 and I'd like to see farmers benefit also from these 6 points.
Seed treatment is a critical step in the realization of higher yield. If you have not yet adopted this practice, try it this crop. A message from the GRDB, Ministry of Agriculture. Farmers and the members of the public in general are being advised that tampering with drainage and irrigation structures in any way is prohibited under the Drainage and Irrigation Act. So too are practices that result in damage to access dams, such as using an inadequate length of tube to irrigate farmlands, resulting in erosion of the earthen dams. Also contrary to the Drainage and Irrigation Act is the practice of erecting structures or planting on government reserves. This will not be condoned. These reserves are to be clear at all times to provide access for the excavation of the channels. Livestock farmers should also be aware that they are liable for any damages caused by their cattle or swine to dams or reserves alongside D&I channels, as is the case when the animals cross these channels. Individuals wishing to erect bridges across D&I structures should first contact the NDIA before doing so. Those found guilty under the Act are liable to fines and imprisonment for up to 3 months. A message from the National Drainage and Irrigation Authority, Ministry of Agriculture. Since the passage of Guyana's 2024 national budget by the National Assembly, Agriculture Minister Zulfikar Mustafa has been traveling to communities across the country, sharing with farmers the provisions of this year's budget, not only as it relates to agriculture development, but the provisions laid out for all non-oil sectors of the economy. His latest outreach was on Saturday, when he took his outreach to the communities of Sandfort and West Kanji, Berbice, to Blackbush Pulda at Maibikuri, and to the Quarantine at number 63 Village. At Sandfort, the Agriculture Minister was welcomed by residents who lauded the significant development that has occurred in the community in terms of improving things for farmers there. Farmers have over the years received improved drainage and irrigation, and at the individual level help with clearing of lands and empoldering. They have received help with farming implements, machinery, and planting materials, all of which have resulted in significantly more lands being under cultivation, including rice, cash crops, and permanent crops. At the meeting in Sandfort Saturday, residents were given the opportunity of sharing with the minister and team some of the issues still of concern to them, key among which was the need for the establishment of a cattle pasture for the grazing of cattle and small ruminants. They also requested help in the carving out of an access path to thousands of acres of farmlands aback of Sandfort that are currently inaccessible. Other farmers requested help with fencing material to ward off cattle that threaten their cash crop farms. Speaking to residents there, the Agriculture Minister said Sandfort can count on the government of Guyana to execute all of the works requested by them, not only for Sandfort, but for communities all across Guyana. He said government sees agriculture as the most important sector, one that will be here long after the oil is depleted.
Growth came out from the non-oil sector. And when we are seeing countries around the world, their economy are shrinking, their economy are contracting, and who doesn't have oil and gas? We must pat ourselves on the back because the non-oil sector grew by 11.7% and the agriculture sector grew by 7% last year. 7% last year the agriculture sector. And right here in Kanji, we said also, and you know for a fact, the comrade who just spoke, that behind the Sedam we need to do some work there to clear the bushes and get drainage done. Who working at Blaymont? Because of the closure of the sugar estate in Kanji, he was forced to go over Blaymont to work. We have brought back sugar to Kanji and we have reopened the Rosal estate. I was coming just now and looking, I was telling the vice chairman, look, smoke coming out the chimney. The factory started back again. Why we are doing this? You know for a fact when the estate was closed, the entire Kanji, we saw a ghost town. All the economic activities in East Kanji die a sudden death. Many families were broken up. People had to take out their children from school. People had to give up utility services, things like telephone. They were unable to pay for it. And you go back now and see what's happening. You go back, over 1,000 workers have been reemployed at Rose Hall. We have seen back the village economy starting. We have seen back people have started once again to money circulating in the community, not only for the workers who are earning, but the people who depend indirectly, the shopkeeper, the market vendors, the seamstress, the taxi driver, all of them now are getting money because the sugar workers are earning, they are spending the money are circulating, and everybody are benefiting. Everybody are benefiting coming out there. So I want to tell you here this morning that, or this afternoon, sorry, that this government will continue to improve your life. That is in our plan. And we have been doing work all across this country. When I heard that the machine has to come here, I told the comrades and Senate. I know Sanford has been a productive area over the years, and we will make Sanford once again a productive area so that you can produce. We will not have land idle. You know for a fact, if you have been following the president, he went to Mara, a number of occasions, and almost all the canals. All the canals in East Banks now, we are desilting and bringing back cultivation area to life. The same thing we'll do in Sanford. We have started it. We have started it. Hundreds of acres of land were cleared by the bulldozer. Hundreds of rods of canal were cleared by the excavator. And many other canals and land we will clear. We will clear to ensure that you have access to the land. It's important if we want to be a food producing country. If we want to be a food producer, then we have to ensure that we make the necessary infrastructure available to the farmers so that they can have access to the land.
Speaking about the budget allocations for agriculture this year, Minister Mustafa said the $97 billion allocation will make a massive difference in the lives and well-being of the farming community and the business of agriculture in general. He said it is this commitment that has resulted in Guyana leading the CARICOM agenda on reducing the region's food import bill by 25% by the year 2025. The agriculture minister told the appreciative audience at Sanford that for the first time in CARICOM, there is the political will to take the steps necessary to realize intra-regional trade both legislatively and physically, the imminent launch of the regional ferry service.
I just want to do a comparison. In 2020, when I became Minister of Agriculture, I went in and reached a budget of $13.5 billion. And in 2015, the last year of the PPP civic government, the agriculture budget was $18.5 billion. So instead of increasing it, it decreased. So you could see the emphasis on agriculture in this country. Guyana always, you check from the history coming up, Guyana always contribute the most to CARICOM in terms of agricultural development. Since the formation of CARICOM, Forbes Burnham, who was one of the founders of CARICOM, took that responsibility to talk on agriculture and lead agriculture. All the presidents, Forbes Burnham, Desmond Hyde, Chedi Jagan, Janet Jagan, Sam Hines, you name it, Donald Ramutar, but in 2015 to 2020 we lost that place. It was taken up by St. Vincent and the Grenadines. Mr. Ralph Gonzal was leading that. When I became Minister of Agriculture in 2020, CARICOM wanted to craft a food strategy. And I thought that as Minister of Agriculture I will lead that, because Guyana normally lead under those things. But to my surprise, the minister from St. Vincent called me and said that he's chairing that committee to formulate, to craft that food strategy. I was so surprised. Guyana had lost because we de-emphasized in that period from 2015 to 2020, we de-emphasized agriculture. We said we will get everything from oil and gas. The next CARICOM summit in Belize, I went with the president. He rescued that position. And I want to tell you now here today, I'm so proud. I'm doing it because I am the Minister of Agriculture. For the first time in the history of CARICOM, we have seen, because of the leadership being displayed by our president, We have seen the political will now for CARICOM to deal with the agriculture sector and reduce the food import bill in the Caribbean. For the first time, we are seeing that political will there. We used to hear about it. You remember under President Jack Dale, he crafted an initiative called the Jack Dale's Initiative. CARICOM termed it the binding constraint in agriculture. Although he did all that, they accepted it, they adopted it, but you didn't see any physical aspect that they start to move, to adopt it, to move it and make it into practice. But today, as I'm speaking here, for the first time, we are seeing CARICOM accepted that we have to reduce the food import bill. We have to reduce them. Last week Monday, no, Monday gone, no last week, Monday last, when the heads of government met in Georgetown, we have seen already that the food import bill of the Caribbean start to decline. Since 2021, and we still have up to the end of 2025 to reduce the food import bill of CARICOM by 25%. From 2021 to 2022, imports declined by 11% in Guyana. I haven't had last year's figures yet, but I am certainly sure that last year's figures, 2022 to 2023, will decrease further. When you look at it, and you can go, I'm not saying you go to the International Trade Center statistic. You go and Google it at the International Trade Center statistic and you'll see decline in imports. You'll see Guyana declined by 17%. Bahamas declined by 2%. St. Vincent and the Grenadines declined by 17%. And it goes like that.
Speaking directly to Guyana's efforts at reducing the food import bill over the last 2 years, Minister Mustafa said there has been an 11% reduction in imports as at the end of 2022, and that figure will continue to rise.
We have prioritized a number of commodities, a number of produce that are high in imports, that cause us a lot of money. And now with those commodities that we have targeted, we are now working to reduce. For example, Guyana, we are spending close to about $40 million annually to import livestock feed for the livestock industry in Guyana. And what is the most important ingredients? Corn and soya. We said we will have to produce and be self-sufficient to produce all our corn and soya needs in 2025. We are on the verge of doing that. We are building infrastructure in the Tacoma Savannah, hundreds of miles of roads. We put up there a 9,000 drying facility. We are now building a wharf. We'll increase that facility this year, make it to about 12,000 tons. The silos that we build there. The consortium that we are working on will increase production this year, and we are hoping next year that we can start to plant 25,000 acres annually, 2 times per year. 25,000 acres 2 times per year, and we will produce all our needs in corn and soya, and we'll also be a net export. That's the way we will save $40 million right here locally, and also we'll earn from that. That's a new crop. In 2021, we imported in this country $2.6 billion in high-value crops. Corn, soy, broccoli, cauliflower, carrots, lettuce, bell pepper for the hospitality industry. The oil and gas industry started. You have more expats coming to live in Guyana. They want better produce. They want better produce. We have to produce that. We have to reduce the $2.6 billion that we used to import that amount of food in to the country. We have started, the president started a program. The comrade mentioned about young people in agriculture. How we can capture the young people coming into agriculture. How we can make agriculture more attractive to the young people. How we can make it less labor intensive. How we can make it more modern. So we started out, we said that look, we have to move agriculture to a different level. We can't expect you do the same old thing we foreparents used to do and grandparents used to do 20 years ago. We have to change the way we do things. So we started a program where we have farmer company, where young people are shareholders. The President Farmer Company where young people are shareholders of this company. The Agriculture Innovative Entrepreneurship Program. We have hundreds of young people who are shareholders. We have started production of these high-value crops. Now we are supplying more than 50% of the hospitality industry, those young people. And at the end of the year, the profit from the company is being divided to these young people as dividend, so that we give them something, we make it more attractive. But at the same time, we do it more modern way. We do it under shade houses. We do it under drip irrigation and all these things. So all the modern way we're doing it, rather than you have to go and do it labor intensive, you water your plant, do this thing, sunlight, burn out the plant, and all these things. So we do it in a more modern way. And what we are doing now, we are looking to build these facilities across this country. Since 2020, we have built more than 450 shade houses across the country. You can ask the NARI, head of NARI, he'll tell you. More than 450 shade houses across the country. This year alone, we'll build another 200 shade houses in different parts of the country.
Responding to the request made by residents of Sandford, Minister Mustafa said a team from his ministry will return to the community in the new week to work with residents in prioritizing the work needed in the community in order to come up with a work program that can be implemented immediately. Across at Mybi Curie Blackbush Polder, Minister Mustafa again allowed for residents to share their concerns on issues affecting them and later shared with them the developments earmarked for their communities this year.
Also, you all started in Blackbush Polder. There was an issue I know here when I used to come as regional chairman. One of the burning issues of this polder was roads. Now we are getting the roads. We are trying to build all the roads in Blackbush Polder. We know that this area here, people suffer a lot when rain falls. Roads are so terrible, impossible, you can't use it. Now you are getting better roads. I agree that you all must make representation to get good roads. And all the issues that you have raised here, I will ensure that I raise it to the Ministry of Public Works so they can come back here. But in this year's budget, $204 billion have been allocated to do roads across this country. Community road, thousands of community roads are being built right now as we are speaking. And the contracts also is being given to the people living in the community. Sometimes we get some unscrupulous contractor, they try to do the road in a very slapdash manner, and the road you must ensure that you have the specs. The specs have to be made available to the local NDC. And if you as a resident in a community, and you know that your road is being built now, and this, especially here in Blackbush, you have suffered for centuries to get proper road. Ensure that your road is built to the specification. And I agree with you when you raise it here now, that if the man is building wrong roads, if the road is not built to specs, you must demand that we get value for our money. And the road has been built properly. So this year, $204 billion have been allocated to do roads across this country. As I'm speaking now, you'll see a number of large roads being built. For example, the Quarantine Highway, we are now expanding the Quarantine Highway from New Amsterdam to Molson Creek. We are making it a 4-lane highway. So, and the entire road, you're getting a brand new road from New Amsterdam to Molson Creek. We are working with the Surinamese government to bridge the Quarantine River so that you can go into Suriname within a couple hours and be back. You live in Blackbush Polder, you can leave here and go to Nigeria and come back and be back here quickly. You can go to Paramaribo.
In responding to requests from the PTA of the Mybi Curie Primary School and the secondary school for help in expanding their school gardens, Minister Mustafa pledged the provision of garden inputs such as shade net and plastic for shade house, tools and machinery, fencing material, etc. A team from the GLDA, NDIA, GRDB and NARI will return to the community this new week to work out the order in which the interventions to resolve issues raised will be rolled out. Across at number 63, Minister Mustafa engaged farmers on the issues affecting them, promising immediate help in a few instances, and in others promising that his team from the Ministry of Agriculture will be working with them in bringing the necessary help to the community. Over the last 10 years, seed treatment has been proven to be very effective in protecting rice plants from damage by early season pests such as water weevils, leaf miners, and caterpillars. This protection can last for up to 30 days. In so doing, it allows for better establishment of the rice plants and later no bare spots in the field. Seed treatment also negates the need for using harmful pesticides during the first 30 days of the crop and therefore allows the buildup of beneficial insects such as the ladybird beetle, damselflies, dragonflies, and spiders, which will later prove useful against paddy bugs at every stage of their life cycle. Seed treatment involves the application of fipronil at 20% soluble concentrate in a spray can to germinated seed. The mix is 1 liter of fipronil to 2.5 gallons of water to treat 10 120-pound bags of paddy. This can be done manually as seen here. The seed is spread on a level surface and the chemical applied using a spray can. It is then turned and sprayed a few times until the farmer is satisfied that he has achieved complete wetting of his seed paddy. Treated seed paddy is then covered and allowed to be incubated or pressed for the normal 36 to 48 hours. Then it is ready for sowing. It should be noted that in treating the seed, farmers applying the pesticide should wear the appropriate protective gear as seen here to protect against the harmful effects of the chemical on the skin or if inhaled.
From 2010, since I start my seed treatment, that's when I started, and I've continued. I've never stopped because I've seen the benefit of seed treatment. And I've seen increased yield, I've seen production better because it actually gives you 35 to 40 days that you don't have to go back into the field and do any kind of a pesticide control, because that actually helps you. So farmers, I'm advising you and I'm giving you that advice because I've been doing this since 2010, and I'd like to see farmers benefit also from these 6 points.
Seed treatment is a critical step in the realization of higher yield. If you have not yet adopted this practice, try it this crop. A message from the GRDB, Ministry of Agriculture. Farmers and the members of the public in general are being advised that tampering with drainage and irrigation structures in any way is prohibited under the Drainage and Irrigation Act. So too are practices that result in damage to access dams, such as using an inadequate length of tube to irrigate farmlands, resulting in erosion of the earthen dams. Also contrary to the Drainage and Irrigation Act is the practice of erecting structures or planting on government reserves. This will not be condoned. These reserves are to be clear at all times to provide access for the excavation of the channels. Livestock farmers should also be aware that they are liable for any damages caused by their cattle or swine to dams or reserves alongside D&I channels, as is the case when the animals cross these channels. Individuals wishing to erect bridges across D&I structures should first contact the NDIA before doing so. Those found guilty under the Act are liable to fines and imprisonment for up to 3 months. A message from the National Drainage and Irrigation Authority, Ministry of Agriculture. Well, that's all the time we have on this week's edition of This Week in Agriculture, a presentation of the Communications Unit, Ministry of Agriculture. I'm your producer and host, Christopher Holder. Do have a great rest of the week, and of course, be good to yourselves and to each other.